everybody, and welcome to another brand new edition of T Watches a Scary Movie. My name is T, and of course we are talking scary movies. I appreciate you tuning in. Remember, new episodes are guaranteed to go up every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, but I'm always putting up extra reviews throughout the week, so if you want to stay on top of my horror content, you need to get subscribed to my link tree. And you can do that by going to linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get to my link tree, that'll give you access to my YouTube page for the video versions of the show, to your favorite podcasting platforms including Spotify, Podbean, and Apple Music, so you can access the audio only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for my written reviews as well as my movie rankings throughout the year, my TikTok page for my short horror content like movie news, me at premieres, and me trying to be funny when I can do so, and links to my Fangoria store discount as well too. So take advantage of my link tree, get subscribed, and of course hit that subscribe button wherever you are watching or listening as well, so you can stay on top of all the horror content that I have coming for you. So what are we discussing tonight? Well, figured we might as well hit something new. Not too long ago, I got a chance to go and check out a screening of the new film Arcadian starring Nicolas Cage, and I thought that was the time to go ahead and discuss it with you. So that's what we are talking about tonight, folks. We are going to talk Arcadian. And let's just jump right on into things. Now, if you haven't seen the trailer for Arcadian, this tells the story of a father and his two young sons attempting to navigate the world that they live in that's post-apocalyptic. We find out that not too long ago, something has happened that has basically decimated the world, and people now live just completely isolated from one another. Not much of a fellowship or friendship or brotherhood amongst anybody that's really left. And they're doing their best to survive a world where, late at night, the monsters come out to play. And that's Arcadian for you. Now, from the jump there's going to be some similarities to maybe some other post-apocalyptic end-of-the-world films you might have seen, including things like A Quiet Place or It Comes at Night. And I think it's going to be hard to really avoid those comparisons, but the craziest thing about it is that Arcadian actually is able to stand on its own completely. You know, I think that it's easy to look at a Nicolas Cage movie these days and feel that it's going to be 50-50. It's either going to be really, really good, and that could even mean ironically good, because let's all be real about this. Nicolas Cage has actually had a lot of really good movies in like even the past decade, but if we had to look at a lot of those movies in the last 10 years, I think that there's going to be some that you could say are actually straight up good movies, and then some that are just ironically good for one reason or another. And Arcadian, in my opinion, actually finds itself being in the genuinely good column. The story itself gives you just enough to go off of. We're not really focused on what caused the end of the world, the reason why people are currently living the way that they are, where did these monsters come from. That's not really what we're focused on. It's just that's the way that the world works. And in that way, it can be similar to A Quiet Place, because if you recall, when we're introduced to our lead family in that film, you know, they suffer a tragedy right at the beginning, and it kind of sets up the way that the world really works, that you have to keep quiet. If you're making noise, you're in danger from these aliens, these monsters that are now inhabiting the earth. And then we kind of get to see like their daily routine and the way that their lives play out. And we do get to see a lot of that with Arcadian. We get to see the way that Nicolas Cage's Paul and his two sons, Joseph and Thomas, played by Jaden Martell and Maxwell Jenkins, we get to see the way that their dynamic essentially works on a daily basis. You know, they get up, they go and try to do repairs around their house, they try to scrounge for resources as well too. They're trying to make sure that they have everything that they need and everything that needs to be done in a certain amount of time. And then as night falls, it's up to them to make sure that their house is completely locked down, because these creatures exist outside that are going to try to break in and presumably, you know, kill them. We don't know if they're trying to eat them or whatever, but at the very least, they're trying to kill them. And already gives us a nice change of pace from A Quiet Place, because one of the biggest things about that is the fact that the remaining humans who are living in this world now, at least from what we see from John Krasinski's family in the two films, a lot of them have had to adapt, whether it's sign language, whether it's writing out everything that you're saying moving forward, whether it's soundproofing wherever you're at. They had to figure out a way to basically live. And that meant that the movie, for the most part, hence the name A Quiet Place, is a very, very quiet affair. And that's not Arcadian. Arcadian, these monsters, yeah, they can hear sound, but it doesn't matter unless it's nighttime. And if it's nighttime, shouldn't really be outside of like your stronghold at that point anyway. So very different in the sense of we're actually going to get communication, which allows for character building and it allows for people to develop throughout this film. And it really does actually work with this family, because we see in Nicolas Cage's Paul that it's just him watching his two sons. And he knows that regardless of everything that's going on in this world, boys will be boys. And he's not at a point to where he's trying to have his boys understand that, you know, the world is completely different, which I found so interesting. And a lot of like these post-apocalyptic tales, it's basically an idea of, look, the world is fucked at this point and you have to kind of go along with this. You have to make this work out. You have to make it the best for yourself. And instead, it very much seems like over the course of this film that Nick Cage is really pushing his boys to still live almost like a normal teenage life, while at the same time also remembering that they have to take some extra care in what they're doing every single day. When the boys make various mistakes that could cause a lot of issues to their safety, to their very own lives, Nick Cage doesn't really put any of the blame on them. He basically says quite often, you know, that's on me. I should have known better. I should have done better. It's not your fault. And I found that so interesting, because usually we're off very heavy in the other direction again, and these kind of films with these kinds of setups. And this family unit really flourished because of that, because Jaden Martell's Joseph, who y'all know from It and Knives Out, he's still very much in like the father worship at this point in his life, to where his dad can do no wrong. We do what dad says, and if we're breaking those rules, you're being selfish. You're not just like causing yourself issues, but you're causing everybody else issues as well too. And that's great, but the flip of that is that Joseph has to understand that there's still a world out here, and he can't just stay in this one little isolated area looking and putting everything into his dad. He has to actually go with what's happening in this world if he's going to survive it and he's going to be a normal person in it. To the flip of Maxwell Jenkins Thomas, who you might know from Lost in Space, to where Thomas is older. Thomas clearly has those older boy interests as he keeps going to help at a neighboring farm because there's a young girl there that he's very much has a crush on. We can see that very evidently. And I love that as well too, because those sort of touches in certain movies we're not missing. And I keep bringing up A Quiet Place, but it's the best comparison out there I can make. We're not really worried about those kinds of relationships in that movie, because it's probably not realistic to think that those things should be at the forefront of a movie that's that white knuckle. And it really isn't a thing. But in a movie like this, to where there is time and that these relationships can be developed, it was really refreshing to see the way that this was handled, and that these two kids, in the scheme of everything, are just children. And whereas Thomas doesn't really have much knowledge of what came before, this young girl Charlotte, played by Sadie Silverall, you know, she has a bit of a memory of what happened prior to everything falling and everything just being gone at that point. And so the way they look at the world is very different as well. And I can't say enough about the character work that's done here in Arcadian. It's one of the best parts of this film, the fact that they don't allow it to just simply be another post-apocalyptic monster movie. There is some actual good development and characters in this film. And I think that family unit and the way they interact with this entire world is one of the most interesting things in the entire film. Now, to offset that, we still do get these monsters. And the monsters will probably be not where the biggest problem is, but I think to where there's the biggest opportunity in the film. Because the monsters are set up to be a serious threat. You know, the few times that we see them, it's in very, very creepy circumstances. And the movie does a good job about not giving us like full-on looks until we get closer and closer to the end of the film. And I'm not going to lie, the overall design of these monsters isn't exactly like the best. I wouldn't call it my favorite design that I've seen. And in certain places, when you see the way that they're kind of interacting, it can be a little silly. But that doesn't change the fact that they're still incredibly effective. You know, there's a specific scene in here involving one of the monsters and Jaden Martell's character, to where you're kind of holding your breath because you're like, oh my god, what is about to happen? Because it's like entirely eerily quiet, and for how much care has been taken up to this point in the film, you can't believe that something is about to happen. It's one of the best scenes in this film, and for the most part, it seems like there's a rule book for what these creatures can do. But the flip of that, though, is that, and it's funny because I've been rewatching, or watching these films the last few months. They seem very much like the Krites from Critters. And there's a couple real big points and reasons why I think that way. And if you see it, I hope that you agree. If you do, let me know in the comment section if you think the monsters here in Arcadian are very much evoking the Krites. But they're still terrifying. They're still scary. We do get to see scenes of how they eventually have the ability to take people out. And when that's happening, that is pretty effectively done, honestly. And there are some open-ended questions they don't give us a focus on, unfortunately, so we're left with a few questions unanswered by the time the film is done. But they're still very effective creatures, and when we do get to see them actually in action, yeah, they're dangerous. They're absolutely dangerous. And so getting the mix of great character moments with good monsters, it's a great match there, honestly, y'all. This film surprised me in both elements there to make a very, very solid film. And not only that, but again, Nick Cage being the biggest member of this cast might come off a bit distracting when you compare like a lot of the films that you've seen him in over the last decade, but make no mistake, this role would not be what I think a lot of you have expected from Nick Cage roles recently. This is going to be a very welcome change of pace, and I like a lot of Nick Cage movies over the last decade. Willy's Wonderland, Color Out of Space, Pig, these are all really, really enjoyable movies, honestly. And there's even more out there that I can't say off the top of my head. Dream Scenario. There's a bunch more out there. But I think this role is going to be another one that's going to be very different from what folks expect from Nick Cage. And that's going to make it so much more enjoyable. So, it's done with its theatrical run. I imagine it's going to be hitting digital sometime in the next couple of weeks. Check it out when you get a chance. Again, if you're looking for something similar to the Quiet Place movies, It Comes at Night, things like that, then this is something that I think you're going to really enjoy. But again, be mindful about the design of the creatures, as that might take you out of it a bit, but try just not to focus on it that much because there's still such an enjoyable movie here, ignoring the rest of that. So, that's it, y'all. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of Arcadian if you got a chance to see it. Do you agree with me that the monsters in it seem very, very similar to the Krites? I gotta know this information, so let me know there. But that's gonna do it for me tonight, folks. Hit that subscribe button if you like this review. I got plenty more out there. Check my channel out. I got full episodes. You can go years back to where the episodes are longer. They have movie news in there, other great goodies there for y'all. Or you can check out the reviews playlist, which are just the short, concise ones that I release for you as well too. But check out some of the other content I have here on my channel, and I'll see y'all for the next one that I have coming up, because I'm gonna go check out the movie Tarot. That's gonna be the next review I got coming to the channel, so you're not gonna want to miss that out, y'all. PG-13 horror is back. So my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.
Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022, and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription, or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. fangoria.com/AXDEW or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years, and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to T-Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.